For the People with Lou Ismay.
We have fire on the West Coast. We have fire on the East Coast. Pretty soon we'll have other things happening in the East Coast, probably we're not going to escape this, but we're all going to be a part of what's happening. How come it's happening? What are we doing? Well, supposedly it was people who did all of this. People and corporations that rule the world. And how can corporations rule the world? Well, they work hand in hand with legislatures and Congress and decided the best way to be successful, concentrate on their work, be wealthy and healthy, and they don't really pay attention to other people, like you and me. Sometimes they exploit us, using us for their own benefit. Sometimes they do things like going to another country and ruining their land as a result of their work, and don't make any restitution. So people over there die. Have we ever considered these things? Well, perhaps we might. We need to. Two corporations, we won't mention names. One of them a very important petroleum company. The other, another company that was also doing the same thing. They were very successful. In one case, in the first case, the scientists in that company told the administration about 50 years ago that if the fossil fuels were continued to be burned, that there would be climate change. The other company, this work resulted in large amounts of methane being released. Now, methane is the worst greenhouse gas. It's probably the worst that there is. They didn't want to do anything about controlling it, so they burned it off at night. It's called flaring. Well, not just at night, but they burned it off and it was more visible at night. Now, those two corporations certainly were involved in the climate change that we're having now, the warming of the planet. What should we do about it? Should we have some way of controlling corporations? Should we have laws saying if you're doing something that will kill other people or poison the planet, that you pay a fine?
No, they should.
Or you lose your license to exist? Is there something that we should be thinking about? Is there something we should do about it? Have we ever thought of that? Another thing that comes to mind with all of this is some rules of nature. We can never do just one thing, because all of us, all the plants and the animals and the mammals like we are, fish, and so we're all connected in some way. We don't always know exactly how, but we are connected in some way. And if we aren't careful, we destroy some of these important things that are linked together. It comes to mind that we need to work together with one idea that's been around for generations. The idea that every sailor, every mariner knows all hands work to save the ship, to run the ship. It's vital. Sometimes it's two hands for the ship. Sometimes it's one hand for the ship and one hand for yourself. But nevertheless, it's all hands working together. That means everybody doing something that's useful and important. Could we adapt something like that for ourselves, our country, to work together with things? No. Part of the whole situation is that we need to think about exploiting one another and exploiting the planet. Exploiting one another means, well, one example, people who need extra money don't earn very much during the month, so they need some extra money. So they rent or borrow money from the corporation. But the interest that's on that money, the rental of that money, costs so much that the people spend a long time in debt paying off the loan that they originally took out. That's one example of exploiting one another. Another exploitation is of the planet. We go in and we take what we want. We dig, we drill, we flood, and even our agriculture has something to do with this. Nature does not stand for a monoculture, doing just one thing. If we have large areas, say, of growing wheat or corn or whatever the commodity is, we have to maintain the richness of the soil with artificial chemicals, artificial fertilizer, whatever, pesticides, herbicides, whatever. Well, all of that extra stuff is poisonous, usually, and it often runs off the property into the nearest body of water, a stream, and so on. And we take the Mississippi River, for example. All the agriculture in that middle part of the country, the watershed is the Mississippi area, and that flows down into the Gulf of Mexico. Once it gets there, it starts to kill the fish. Do we realize that? Can we live and work without poisoning ourselves and others? Well, another thing to think about. The word is justice. Justice. What we are seeing on television with people marching, being out at night all day long, are looking for justice of some sort. They are being treated unjustly. They want to be treated justly. Doesn't matter about color, or wealth, or work, or anything else. They want justice for one another. They're not mobs. They are not mobs. And they're not out to destroy. Oh, there are some people who will riot and so, but generally it's peaceful. In our country, would we ever think about changing our administration the way the people in Belarus are doing it? They're out all the time, every day, protesting. Some of them are being jailed, some of them are being persecuted. But the idea is that the people want the change and want it for everybody. So all of this ties into one thing. We have a planet, it needs help. We have people who need help, hunger, all sorts of things. They are not individual things. They are all linked together. And in our thinking for the future, will we remember that we cannot do just one thing, that we have to think far enough in advance, even though we may be wrong, what would happen to people coming along, our children, our grandchildren, great-grandchildren, whatever it is, what will they, how what we do today will affect them. And we often talk about peace. Can we have peace without justice? Now, there are many things that we can talk about, and it's almost mind-boggling how many things to do and what to do first. But if we sit around, if we talk about things, we work out things, then do it. Will we? And when? Bye, till next time.